Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm sharing with you my version of the most delicious soft ginger cookie you'll ever make. This is my go-to recipe to use for my holiday baking and gifting, and everyone that has tried it has really liked it and asked me for the recipe. This recipe is based on baking with Blondie's recipe, but I've tweaked it as I really don't like the strong molasses taste in gingerbread. I've also adjusted the spices to my taste. Originally, a friend asked me to make soft gingerbread cookies for her grandma. She adores gingerbread, but as she's gotten older, she can't handle it with her dentures. This recipe will produce 30 cookies, and I usually make a double or triple batch for my holiday baking and gifting. The ingredients include plain white flour, baking soda, butter, sugar cane molasses, brown sugar, honey, eggs, ground ginger, ground cinnamon, ground cloves, white chocolate melts, table salt, normal granulated sugar, and Christmas sprinkles like holly leaves and red berries. Let's get started. In a large bowl, cream 170 grams of unsalted butter. The butter has been left outside the fridge so it can begin to soften, not so that it melts. I always use unsalted butter because I'd like to control the level of salt in the bake. Then add in 200 grams of brown sugar and cream it until it's very well combined. Wipe down the sides every so often. You can choose to use the dark brown sugar. However, I prefer the light as it doesn't contain so much molasses in there, which is a flavour that I'm trying to avoid. Add in 1 large egg. Now add in 45 grams of sugar cane molasses and 95 grams of honey. And beat it together with a hand mixer until it's very well combined. Only use sugar cane molasses and not the carob molasses. I made a batch with the carob molasses and the cookies flattened out when they were cooling. Set this bowl aside, and now we're going to measure 330 grams of plain flour, 2.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Sift them together twice to allow them to mix together well. Don't use baking soda that is older than a month, as the cookies won't rise. It has happened to me, and while it tastes good, the cookies are flattened and look more like a Subway cookie, so I couldn't use them for gifting. Add in 3 teaspoons of ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and half a teaspoon of ground cloves. Add in a 1/4 teaspoon of table salt. I always like to sift all the ingredients to eliminate any lumps, and using a fork to push it through the sieve. Use a fork or spoon, whatever you have on hand, to stir the spices through the flour mix. The dry mix is added slowly into the wet mixture. Working in batches, I use a spatula and give it a good mix. If I'm making a double batch, I will use a stand mixer on a low setting and wipe down the sides every so often. If you make this recipe and the cookies fall flat, you can blame the baking soda. Make sure that you have a baking soda that is no more than a month old. Mix it through until it becomes a firm dough. If you live in a hot climate, then I suggest chilling the dough for at least 10 minutes if it becomes too soft. Sometimes the honey can be very runny, so you may need to add another 1/4 cup of plain flour to get a firm dough. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of the new videos I have coming out on a weekly basis. Set your oven to 190 degrees Celsius or 370 degrees Fahrenheit to preheat. I use a food scale to measure out 30 grams of dough and roll it in the granulated sugar to coat it. If you don't have a scale, then you can use a measuring spoon to portion out the dough into balls. I evenly space out the cookie dough on the baking trays, which I've covered in parchment paper, baking paper, so that I can quickly get the baking done without having to wait for the cookies to cool on the tray. Place them in a fan-forced oven to bake for 10 minutes. This timing may vary depending on your oven, so watch the first batch and adjust the time until they are done. Allow them to completely cool on wire racks. In a bowl, place 250 grams of white melting chocolate and then put it in the microwave on a high setting for 30 seconds. Take it out of the microwave and give them a good stir, and repeat until the chocolate becomes runny with no lumps. Now, this is my favourite part of the recipe, where each cookie is dunked into the white chocolate, melts and decorated with Christmas themed sprinkles. The cookie is dipped on the top side on an angle so that it coats the top section and leaves a nice brown cookie crescent. Wipe down the sides of the cookie on the edge of the bowl to remove any excess chocolate. Depending on how heavy-handed you are, you may need to melt more white chocolate to cover each of the cookies. Living in Australia, the weather is pretty warm, so I can start decorating a tray at a time. If you are in a cooler climate, then pause after a few cookies to decorate them with the sprinkles. You can choose to colour the white chocolate using a chocolate-safe food colouring. However, I don't mind the yellow tinge to the white chocolate. These are the sprinkles that I buy each year. You can find them at specialty stores or in the supermarket close to Christmas time. Here I'm decorating the cookies to look like cute mini Christmas puddings, usually placing 2 leaves and 3 berries on each. I have also used cute mini gingerbread men and have used white and blue snowflake sprinkles. Basically, you can use any sprinkles you want to use. Repeat this process until all the cookies are dunked and decorated, and allow the chocolate to cool and set. If you're in a rush, you can place them in the fridge to speed up this process. The cookies can be stored for up to a week in an airtight container in a cool place. These cookies make an impression and are very popular with friends and family. This is an excellent alternative for people that don't like the strong gingerbread taste and texture. It's a recipe that I'll be making for years to come, and I hope it will become a favourite for you too. They make an excellent baking gift for the holiday season, as one bite tastes just like Christmas. Let me know how you go with making this recipe and what variations you have tried out in the comments below. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of the new videos I have coming out on a weekly basis. On screen is another favourite dessert recipe that I make all the time if you want to check it out. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you for the next one. Happy baking, and it's bye for now.